All right, Scott, I've got a question for you today.
Uh-oh, what is it?
Okay. So the day that we're recording this is October 1st.
Okay.
In the Disney universe, we are celebrating two very big anniversaries. We are celebrating the anniversary of Magic Kingdom opening in Florida. And we are also celebrating Epcot's opening.
Okay.
So with that in mind, which of those two parks would you prefer to spend the day in today?
Epcot or Magic Kingdom?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm feeling Magic Kingdom today.
Are you?
Yeah, just a little bit of deep, like just walk around, see, like what I think I would appreciate about Magic Kingdom today is just the theming and the immersion and the land to land and kind of just kicking back, having fun on some of the attractions that I know I love and just kind of chilling my way through the park.
And the kind of getting out of reality and into the magic a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas Epcot kind of can make you feel like, okay, I need to be concerned about the world. You get what I'm saying?
I do.
And I'm in that kind of place today where I don't want to care about the world. I want to care about me.
Okay. All right.
I'm having one of those self-care kind of days.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Self-care is very important.
Yep. So which one would you choose?
I think I would also choose Magic Kingdom, just because, like, we've had a lot going on recently.
We have.
I feel like. And so I think I'm along the same line with you as, like, just needing a little bit of extra magic in my life and sort of getting out of normal and going into something that I know that I love.
Yep. I get it. Okay. We don't have to fight about which park to go to today.
Nope.
Now if it just wasn't a 24-hour drive.
Right?
Welcome to Hanging at the Hangar Bar. I'm Scott.
I'm Candace. I'm Lariah. And I'm Lacey. Grab a drink and come hang with us at the Hangar Bar.
Hello and welcome everyone to Hanging at the Hangar Bar.
Hello.
We are back with you for another fabulous episode today. And it is Scott and I with you today.
That is correct.
Mm-hmm. So we have talked a lot in the past about planning trips to Disney. And that can be any of the Disney parks around the world. We've talked Disney cruises before. All the things travel related with Disney we have talked about.
Yes.
And as many times as we have gone, I feel like there's kind of a lingo that one really needs to figure out before you can be really successful at trip planning.
Okay. I would agree with that.
So today our episode is going to be talking through what I have dubbed the ABCs of Disney trip planning.
Okay. I like it.
All right.
Give us a little bit more detail about what exactly we're going to be doing today.
Okay, so we're going to be going through the ABCs, and we're going to be talking about different aspects of the Disney travel planning process, some of the lingo that you should be familiar with just in the Disney universe overall, some things to be wary of, some things to consider, all of those good things.
Okay, so this is like a beginner's guide to Disney.
Pretty much.
Okay, I love it. Let's do it. Let's jump in.
All right, let's go. So the A in our ABCs is an annual pass.
Okay, annual passes.
Mm-hmm.
We don't live close enough for one of those.
Well, or do we? Because, see, here's the thing. If a person is committed enough to Disney and has the time and the budget to allow to visit any time over 10 calendar days in the course of a year, financially, it makes more sense to get an annual pass than pay for day-by-day tickets.
So 10 days.
Yes.
Okay. Is that for like the highest level pass?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How many different passes are there?
Not counting the Florida resident pass, there are 3.
Okay.
And they do come, like, if you're an annual pass holder, you can get exclusive merchandise. You can get discounts on restaurants and shopping and different things like that, too. So that kind of helps justify it as well.
Okay. And just to make sure we stay true to this being kind of a beginner's guide, too, an annual pass is just strictly park tickets. If you get the highest tiered one, there's like no blackout dates or limited blackout
Correct.
dates, that kind of thing. Clear down to the Florida resident one, which has tons of blackout dates for holidays and that kind of thing. So you can get in at multiple different price levels, but basically that is your park tickets. It does, well, we'll probably get into some of this and some of the other ones, but it doesn't include like hoppers or anything like that.
Correct.
It's just a single day ticket.
Right.
That you can use 365 days a year, conditions applying.
Right. Well, I mean, it does kind of include a hopper because it gives you access to any of the parks. So you could hop.
Okay. You don't have to pay extra for like hopping privileges?
Correct.
Okay. And I'm sure you'll get into hopping later in the
Yes.
ABCs.
Yes.
So just remember that. Some of this will make more sense as we go through the rest of the episode.
And that's why we're doing this,
Yes.
because it all builds on itself and it's all a lot to hold on to.
Yes. Okay. I'm good.
Okay. So the B may be kind of a stretch because I really couldn't think of anything aside from the fact that the correct terminology, and this is kind of one of my cringy things, is when people say bippity boppity instead of bibbity bobbity.
Okay.
There's no T's, it's D's.
Okay.
So bibbity bobbity boutique, not bippity boppity boutique. That's something completely different and not Disney related at all.
Might make Disney a little more adult related.
Well, but no. The true definition or item that I selected for B is to be sure to make a plan before you go.
Okay.
I think we talked about it in a recent episode where it's kind of terrifying to try and to think about trying to navigate a Disney vacation with no plan whatsoever.
Agreed.
There's just so much. And we all know that we're never going to be able to see it all in a single trip and never be able to do it all in a single trip. But that's why planning is so important. So you really get in those handful of absolutely must-do things that is going to make your trip, and the rest is just gravy.
Yep. Agreed. Buses. Start with B. Do you have that as another letter?
No.
Okay, so let's talk about buses a little bit too. I can, where appropriate, I can throw in some
absolutely.
alphabet soup as well.
Absolutely.
So I would count B for buses, which is one of the primary transportation methods to get around Disney World property. They're free for anybody on property. Mm-hmm. You can hop on to a bus even if you're not a resort guest. Mm-hmm. They take you to Disney Springs, they take you to the parks, they take you to all the hotels. They will literally get you almost everywhere. Mm-hmm. So unless there's another mode of transportation that gets to that place, but even then, a lot of times buses will still run to those places, maybe just not from those places. So
Right. The thing with buses, though, is that you need to allow plenty of time for your transportation, not only for it to pick you up, but to get you to where you need to be. So we always suggest if you are, say, for example, hopping between parks for a dining reservation, allow at least an hour and a half if you are relying on bus transportation to get you to that next park.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Which speaks to what your B was being sure to plan.
Before you go.
Right.
Oh, this is silly.
I love that.
All right, ready to move on?
I am, yes.
Okay. So C is for cast members.
Ooh, good one.
And cast members are the staff members, basically, of Disney. Cast member is a term that can run the gamut from a new hire going through traditions training all the way up to Mr. Bob Iger himself. They're all cast members, and they are all the true magic.
Yes, and I am not one.
Nor am I.
My retirement plan includes me becoming one, maybe. To drive a boat around, speaking of B.
Do we need to go back?
No.
Okay.
No, it's fine. Just know that a lot of the transportation options start with B.
Or two of them.
Two of them start with B. That's good.
Okay. D, we have two. Some of these letters will have more than one option. So the first one for the D is the Disney dining plans. And they are recently they're going to be relaunching the dining plans. There used to be 3 different levels. We've talked about them in episodes past, so if you're not familiar, you can go back and listen to them. They are now launching again on January 9th, 2024 is the relaunch date. They did take them away during the pandemic, and this is the grand and glorious return of the dining plans. The 2 options that will be available are the quick service dining plan and the regular Disney dining plan, which basically you're prepaying for your meals.
Right. Which can be a good deal, or it might not be a good deal financially. Mm-hmm. I think our coaching would be, we think it's just for us, we appreciate it because it gives us a chance to plan on what we're going to be doing and how we're going to be eating and how much money we have to spend. Because Disney World food is expensive.
It is.
So even if you say, okay, I know that I already have two meals and a couple of snacks that are figured out every day on my trip, and you can pay for that over time ahead of time. We're not the type of people that would be like, okay, to get your money's worth, you have to go in and buy the most expensive thing on every menu. If that's you, do it. But for us, it's a convenience factor.
Right, and there's value in knowing that we don't have to have extra money to eat some of the things that we probably normally wouldn't eat,
right,
if they weren't included.
Yep.
In that.
Agreed.
So, and then the second thing for the letter D is the Disney Vacation Club.
Ooh.
Which is Disney's answer to timeshare. It is a 30-year program. You start by selecting your quote-unquote home resort, and then you pay on an annual basis. There are additional fees and all this, but you pay for an annual bucket of points where you can stay at your home resort or any other resort where there may be room for you, or several. I mean, there's lots of locations all over the world, actually, that will help you get into.
Yep.
So there are some resorts that have Disney Vacation Club accommodations, but you don't have to be a member of DVC in order to book into them. If there's availability for those rooms, by all means.
One of our favorite resorts is a DVC resort, and we're not
actually
DVC
the first
members.
DVC resort.
Yeah, Old Key West.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we love that resort and the room style and all the room style. We've stayed there multiple times, and we've loved all the rooms that we've had there.
Mm-hmm.
It's DVC, and we're not DVC members.
Mm-hmm. So it can be done.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, E. E is for extra magic hours or early park entry.
Ooh, I like it.
Okay. So back in the day, they used to offer extra magic hours both in the morning and the evening time in specific parks for specific evenings. And those benefits were for resort guests, basically. Now there's early park entry, which resort guests get in a half an hour early. And then if you're staying in a deluxe resort, they do have some of the parks open extra time in the evenings. F is for Fast Pass.
Ooh. You're going back a little bit with this
I am
one.
going back again.
Okay.
Just because it's pretty standard vernacular still
Mm-hmm.
for Disney speak. If you hear somebody use the word Fast Pass or groan about how Fast Passes aren't a thing anymore, that is 100% correct. What a Fast Pass is, or was basically a mini reservation for you to get on one of the more popular attractions at a specific time. So you could go off and do whatever you wanted to do and then come back during that time to basically not have to wait in line.
Yeah, I loved Fast Passes. I love the old paper Fast Passes. I get why they moved away from those.
Absolutely.
I liked Fast Pass Plus. We haven't been there since they did, and I'm sure you'll get to this later in the ABCs as well, but the new version of Fast Pass, so I won't spoil it. But I've liked them all. I think they've all had their benefits and their drawbacks.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that as we go through this list and we talk about some of these historical things, you'll find that the Disney crowd is pretty passionate
Yeah.
about hanging on to the past and hanging on to the things that they loved and the way they always did it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some hot under the collar people about losing Fast Pass in favor of the newest version, and it sometimes you just have to kind of just nod and smile at some of those people and be like, "Yep, I know what a Fast Pass is." If you're a newbie and you start calling it by the newest iteration and somebody gives you guff about it, you just okay, whatever, just move on.
But long live the Fast Pass.
Yep,
We miss it.
we do. I don't know that I miss it yet because we haven't been back since it's
Well,
been
that's
gone.
true. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what we do with the new version and see what happens because I think it has its benefits.
Yeah. All right. So G, we have Good Neighbor Hotel.
Okay.
And the Good Neighbor Hotel, if you listen to our most recent episode about balling on a budget, we talked about a Good Neighbor Hotel being a hotel that is close to the Disney World or Disneyland resort for that matter, but not on Disney property and not owned by the Disney company. Typically, not always, typically they are a little less expensive than a resort stay, but you don't get all the amenities and the benefits of staying in a resort hotel.
Yep.
So that is something definitely when you're planning your trip you'll want to take a look at maybe. But be sure and price out both ways.
Yeah, agreed. And I think we've not been to Disneyland together
Yet.
but I think one of the things that is, I don't know if this is, I don't know the word that I'm looking for, urban legend, just accepted best practice. You're more likely to stay at a Good Neighbor Hotel and get a really good experience in California than you are in Orlando. Because the only hotel that was Disney when Disneyland was built was the
Disneyland Hotel.
Disneyland Hotel, which is still there. They're updating it, all that kind of fun stuff. And so you can still stay on property. There's 3 hotels there now. But there are Good Neighbor hotels in Disneyland that are a closer walk to the parks than some of the Disney hotels in Anaheim. So as you're planning and you're thinking about it, the push to non-Disney hotels is stronger in California than it is in Florida. But it could be a good option for you in either.
Yes. And speaking of the Disneyland Hotel, they did just open the DVC villas that
Nice.
they've been building. So
Nice. Those have been under construction for a while.
yeah. Yep, they have. But they're ready to go. All right. So H is for hop, as in park hopping.
I like it.
Park hopping is a basic term for moving between one park and another on the same day. If you have the park hopper option added to your ticket, you can do that with no additional cost. If you don't have that option added to your ticket, you will pay 2 full prices for 2 full parks on the same day, which is silly, in my opinion.
I would use another S word, but I don't want to call anybody listening the S word I'm thinking of. So we'll go with silly.
Okay.
Are there any restrictions to hopping?
So at the current time that we're recording, they're still using the park reservation system, where you do have to have a reservation to get into the first park that you want to go into for the day. And hopping is limited to after 2 p.m. as long as there is capacity in the park that you want to go into. What I have heard is park reservations are going away on January 9th, 2024, same time the dining plan is coming back. Hallelujah.
Woohoo!
But from what I understand, they're going to keep those hopping restrictions the same, where you have to go in after 2.
Okay.
Which just makes sense.
Yeah. So do you have to check into one park before you can hop to another, even after January 9th? Do you know? Because I know today, if you're in Disney World when you're listening to this, number one, stop listening to this and enjoy the park.
Right.
Listen to this later. We still want you to listen. But if you're in Disney World listening to this right now, you have to check. Like, you can go, you have your reservation in Magic Kingdom. You have to check in there before you can then hop over to Hollywood Studios or Epcot or Animal Kingdom. Is that still going to be the way after January? Or if you're just like, okay, I want to go, I guess it doesn't make any difference if there's no okay, that was a dumb question. Sorry.
No, it actually wasn't. I get what you said, though, because, like, when they scan your ticket, they're going to be able to see where you've been that day. So...
Yeah, and that's the thing is, because now some people are like, well, I just want to hop into Magic Kingdom for breakfast, and then I know I've seen videos about, like, people checking into I get what they're doing, so this won't be a problem after reservation. So what they do is they get a reservation wherever they can. Like, if there's no Epcot reservations, but there are Magic Kingdom, they get a Magic Kingdom, and they're just like, okay, I just won't go into Epcot until 2. But you have to go to Magic Kingdom first and check in before you can go over to Epcot. But once reservations happen, that would just be like, okay, so I can go to whatever park I want to go to whenever I want to.
Right.
And then hop somewhere else later in the day.
Right.
So it was a dumb question, but I worked out in my head why it was dumb and shared that all with you.
But see, this is why we're going through this.
Right, exactly. It's complex.
It is.
Like, you do not go on a Disney vacation to not have a complex
No.
trip.
Right.
Like, there is a lot to think about.
There is. And ins and outs and details and
Yes.
all the things. All right. Are we ready to move on?
I think so.
Okay. So I have 2 of those. The
Okay.
first one is individual lightning lane,
Okay.
and the second one is Imagineering.
Ooh, both good.
So individual lightning lane, a little bit of a spoiler. Lightning lane and an explanation of that is coming up soon. But individual lightning lane, there are certain attractions, in every one of the parks that are considered the most popular, I guess you could say. And those are ones where you will actually, if you want to skip the standby line, you're going to have to pay an additional fee. And it is per person, per ride. And those rides fluctuate depending on crowd level in the park and popularity that day. So we've seen them as low as $15 a ride. We've also seen them as high as $29 a ride attraction.
Yes.
And that, again, that's per person. So if you have a group of 4 and it's on a really popular day, if you can snag the individual lightning lane, that's fine. But you're going to pay close to $120 for one attraction.
Right. That's a lot.
It is.
When you're already paying $150 for a park ticket plus hopper.
Right. Now, with that said, if that particular attraction is on your must-do list and it's worth it to you, by all means. Like, I think when our next trip, we're probably going to end up paying for Rise of the Resistance.
Yes. So we don't have to go spend 4 hours in line for it.
Right.
It's a trade-off.
It is.
Yeah.
And then the second piece of that is Imagineering, which is, do you want to tackle this?
Why would I want to tackle this?
Well, I don't know.
I can. So Imagineering is the name that Walt gave to his engineering department, the research and development department, the creative non-animation side of the Disney World company. So when you think about the folks making attractions, building theme parks, inventing new ways of doing things, inventing new ways to do animation, all of those kind of things are done by the Imagineering department, which is a huge part of the Disney World Corporation. but it's just what they call their folks in the engineering and the creative and that kind of thing space. So when you hear people talk about their favorite Imagineer, they're talking about the people that are creating what you're there physically seeing and touching and interacting with. They're not the one doing the drawings. They're not the ones doing, in some cases they might be the ones doing some of the painting and that kind of thing, because you also have your construction arm of Imagineering, but it's all the creative and building folks that are called Imagineers.
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
That was good.
Okay.
And speaking of Imagineers, one of my favorites actually represents our J for this.
Ooh, okay.
And that is Mr. Joe Rohde himself.
Yes.
Joe Rohde is an Imagineer, or was an Imagineer. He recently retired a few years ago. But he is primarily responsible for many, 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 many parts of attractions, including most of Animal Kingdom.
Yep.
And there are nods to him throughout that park. You just have to know where to look. But his creative mind is just amazing.
And if you've watched anything on like Discovery or Disney Plus or whatever about the creation of Animal Kingdom or
Pandora
or anything like that, you've seen Joe Rohde, even if you don't think you have.
He's the guy with the very large earring.
Yep. Multiple earrings, like the big loop and all the earrings hanging from his ear, which is just his signature thing. So, yeah, he's a good one.
So props to Joe. Okay, our K is for Kingdom. And in the Disney World realm of things, we have Magic Kingdom and we have Animal Kingdom. In Disneyland, Magic Kingdom is basically Disneyland.
Right. Do they call it Magic Kingdom in Disney?
No, it's
they just call it
Disneyland.
Disneyland,
Yeah. Has the mostly similar but not the same attractions as Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom and some additional ones.
Right.
But then other Disney parks around the world also have Magic Kingdom elements in some form. Because that's kind of the beginning point of it all.
Yes.
Okay, so for our L, and we've kind of already spoiled this, Lightning Lane. So Lightning Lane is the successor to Fast Pass. And one of the biggest complaints that people have is that Fast Pass was a free service. Fast Pass Plus was a free service. Lightning Lane is not. If you're going to do Lightning Lane, you purchase a service called Genie Plus, and then you can make your reservations for the attractions that you want to take part in that day.
Right. Yes, and there's no... What I like about the Lightning Lane or with Genie Plus is, so those are interchangeable. Genie Plus lets you into the Lightning Lanes.
Right.
So you'll hear people talk about Genie Plus, and they'll probably say something like, I'm getting in the Genie Plus line or whatever, but it's actually a Lightning Lane. And I think one of the things that I appreciate about it is, as much planning as Disney takes, do I really know what 3 rides I want to get on and when I want to get on them 3 to 6 months ahead of time? No. Whereas everybody that gets, and again, this is probably one of the downsides plus one of the plus sides, is everybody that gets up at 7 o'clock in the morning has the same chance to get on the same rides and get into the Lightning Lane of the things that are most important to them. I'm getting old and crotchety and cranky, and I'm getting to the spot where I'm just, so what if I spend all day in line? I'm getting to that point where the queues are things that I want to see. Even if I go on Peter Pan again, I'm waiting in the queue because I've not seen the Darling's house.
Right.
There, and you miss that by going through the Lightning Lane.
Well, and we've talked about that in previous episodes where waiting in line, in the standby line, actually immerses you in the story before you even get on the ride. That's why they're attractions and not just rides.
Exactly. Exactly.
Anything else about Lightning Lane?
No.
Okay. Well, moving on to M, we have magic bands.
Ooh, I like it.
And magic bands are something that you can actually purchase. They used to be free. They're not anymore. But they are basically little RFID readers in the form of a band that serve as your room key to your resort hotel. You can link a credit card to make purchases through your stay.
Dangerous.
A little bit. But not as dangerous as you might think. Like, you actually have to verify your purchase. It's not like somebody can just scan your wrist and buy a lightsaber or, something ridiculously expensive like that.
Yes, but being able to tap your wrist on anything that you can pay for makes it really easy to spend money.
Right. And believe it or not, Disney's not magical enough that money doesn't matter.
Truth. Money doesn't matter up to a certain point.
Right. But once it does, then it really does.
Right. Exactly. You're like, we can't afford to go home now.
We're not eating for a month. How about that? But no, magic bands, they used to be just colors, like different colors. You could pick your favorite color. Now there are multiple designs. They even have Magic Band Plus that were interactive with the golden statues for the 50th anniversary, which they are leaving up in the parks, from what I understand, for a little bit, at least. And they interact with some of the nighttime spectaculars and things like that. So I don't know. For me, it's kind of like one more thing that's a money grab.
Yeah, it's a money grab, but ultimately the reason it was introduced in the first place was to make spending more convenient and to know where you were in the park.
Right.
Which you go back to Genie Plus, Magic Band is what makes that work.
Right.
Because they'll tell you the free version of Genie Plus,
which is called Genie,
will just tell you, okay, you're here. Here's the things that you might want to do based on the things you've told us were important and have the lowest weights. And we'll show you what wait times do for that ride and that kind of thing, which is all location based. And that's also how they push notifications to you. Mm-hmm. I think we've shared, it may have been a season or two ago, but I can't remember if I did this or not. But we came out of Mickey's PhilharMagic, and as we were walking across the park, we got a voicemail in our My Disney Experience app from Mickey and Minnie talking about congratulations on your anniversary. I noticed that you stopped into Mickey's PhilharMagic. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you have a fantastic anniversary. They can't do that without your location services through a Magic Band. Right. So all of that data that they're collecting about park patterns and all of that feeds through that. I don't say that to be like, oh, Big Brother's watching, but Big Brother is watching. But in this case, it's a good, they doing it for the right reasons and to part you with your money.
Right. And they've recently launched a version of Magic Bands for the cruise line, which makes me so happy.
Yeah, me too.
Because that will be a much easier way than to have to worry about carrying around a little card and losing it or leaving it behind somewhere or something.
And it'll give me a good tan line.
Exactly. That's going to last longer than a week. So then N, we have nightlife.
Ooh, okay.
And for Disney adults without kids, nightlife is one of those things that a lot of people wouldn't think about, but we do. Also, nighttime, I think, is the most magical time in any of the parks, just because of all the beautiful lighting and some of the different experiences, like the nighttime spectaculars, which Luminous is coming out in December in Epcot. And I am so excited. I hope it's wonderful. But anyway, there's just something very special about Disney parks at night, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And there's all kinds of things to do. There's lounges to hang out in. There's great restaurants to dine in. All the things.
Yeah, you think about a theme park experience. You don't necessarily think about all the things that there are to do after you're done at the theme park. And Disney has thought that out well with Disney Springs and even the resorts and the things that you can do there, families or not families, you can really find something to do. But I will say that my experience is that everything shuts down at Disney around midnight. Like, they want everybody back in their resort rooms by about midnight. There's not a lot that happens, probably because, just like Mom used to say, nothing good happens after midnight. They probably have a very similar philosophy. I'm sure there's bars and stuff that are open later, but if you want to track those down and find them. But for the most part, things slow way down at midnight.
Well, and quite honestly, if you were not completely wiped out and exhausted by midnight, you've either A, had too much caffeine and sugar, or B, you're not doing it right.
Right. Yes.
All right, moving on to O. O, we are going to go with on-property stay.
Okay.
And for Disney World, we are talking about staying in a resort that is owned and operated by the Disney Company. There are more than 20 resorts. There are also a few that are not owned and operated by Disney, like the Swan, the Dolphin, the Swan Reserve. They're on property, but you will not get some of the same perks and benefits as a Disney resort hotel.
Yes.
And my biggest pull for staying on property at Walt Disney World is that you stay in the middle of the magic the entire vacation,
Right.
even if you don't go into a theme park.
Yep.
So P, we are going to go with pack your patient pants.
I love it. Patient pants.
Patient pants. So, okay. In peak season, and we're talking about around the holidays, specifically between Christmas and New Year's every year. Years past, we have seen shutdowns because of capacity. Like, the parks basically hold 100,000 people. You reach that limit, and it's not safe to have any more people in the parks, so they start not letting any more people in. Disney crowds are bigger now than they've ever been, which means more people, which means more attitude, which means more opportunity for difficult behavior. Is that what I'm looking for?
Sure.
Okay.
For a-holes.
All right. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
But just remember, as Disney adults, we need to pack our patient pants. Be patient with the cast members. Be kind to them. They will provide all the magic in the world that they can. But you have fellow guests to think about too.
Yep.
So that's an important one.
It is.
In my opinion.
Yep.
Anything else about patient pants?
No. It's a mantra you need to repeat to yourself every day as you walk into the parks. Just, I'm going to pack my patient pants.
It's a good mantra for life,
Yeah.
just in general.
You're on vacation. Why let anything bring you down?
Right.
I know you spent a lot of money to be there, but why let anything bring you down?
And definitely don't ruin somebody else's day.
100%, yes.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the letter Q, we are actually going to talk about queues.
Queues, okay?
Queues, which is basically a fancy word for a line.
Mm-hmm.
And for most attractions, there's a standby line or a standby queue and a lightning lane queue.
Yep. And we said it earlier in this episode. We'll say it again. Sometimes the queue is the best part of the ride. Attraction.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. And most of the time, the queue tells part of the story that helps you be immersed throughout the entire attraction, even when you get on the ride portion. Yep.
And sometimes, like Scott just said, the lightning lane is not always the best queue to be in, even though you're trying to get as much attractioning done as possible. There are things you're going to miss out on. Like, for example, Smuggler's Run. If you take the lightning lane for that, you're going down back hallways.
Yep.
It's still themed out. It's still appropriate. I mean, it's not like terrible, but you're not as immersed as you could be, and you're not going to have the same experience as you would as if you go into the standby queue.
Yeah, so 2 rides that I will call out where the queue is, I think, vital, at least on your first time. Smuggler's Run is one of them because you miss all of the pre-show elements on Smuggler's Run. So a lot of the really cool things that they built into the Millennium Falcon, you miss all of that. So you go up this back hallway, back set of stairs, and you end up right in the cockpit where the space chessboard is in the Millennium Falcon, which is a cool place to be dumped out, but you've missed the reason why you're on the ride. You've missed why you're going on this mission. You've missed talking to Hondo. All of those things that add to the attraction, you've missed out on that. So do that one. Do yourself a favor and don't do what I did and make your first time on that one, make it through the standby queue. And then the other one is the queue for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is a ton of fun. And I actually didn't enjoy the ride as much when we went through the lightning lane as I did when we went through the full queue.
I agree.
Because there's games you can play, there's little Easter eggs that you can find. All of those kind of things are in the queue, even though that's not really storytelling per se, but it's giving you things to do. You get immersed in, you're going into the mountain, you're there with the dwarves, all of that kind of stuff, and you just kind of miss out on that. Mm-hmm. That ride, again, it's one of those that I suggest doing the queue at least once. I'm starting to get to the point where that ride may be even a skip for me.
Me too, honestly. It's fun.
It's fun. I enjoy it, but I don't want to spend the time you have to spend in the queue to enjoy the ride as much as I did the first time, and I didn't enjoy it as much not going through the queue. I know that about myself, so that's one that I would probably skip unless I'm going with somebody new, and then I would suggest we wait in the queue because of all the fun stuff you get to do.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And that's an excellent point about doing a standby versus a lightning lane on your first time through. Like if you're one of the people that are lucky enough to be there all the time, fine. So use your lightning lane. If you don't care about a queue on an attraction, don't go. But don't miss out on that stuff ahead of time because it does add to the experience and it does enhance the story.
It's what makes Disney Disney.
It's the storytelling.
Yeah, if Disney didn't have the storytelling and had just lame cement queues, they would be Universal.
Oh.
And actually, Universal does rides, for the most part, better than Disney does.
Thrill rides.
Mm-hmm. But the storytelling that comes along with it. All of a sudden, that roller coaster that only goes 25 miles an hour, you feel like you're going 1,000 miles an hour because you're immersed in the story because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's my soapbox moment.
It was beautiful. Thank you. So R is for reservations.
What kind of reservations?
Well, we have a couple of kinds that we need to talk about. The first one is for table service dining. And those can be made up to 60 days ahead of time.
Okay.
And then the second one is for experiences. And that would be for things like the safari experience over at Animal Kingdom. That would be the behind the scenes tour.
Right.
At Living with the Land. All those things, VIP tours if you want to pay for that. Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. You can make reservations for lots and lots of things you can make reservations for ahead of time. And I think it's important to make those as soon as you can so that you know you've got them locked in and you're not disappointed. Some of the restaurants, I will say, they do have walk-up wait lists, which you can join. But if you don't have a reservation, you are risking not being able to do those things. And if it's one of the things that's on your must-do list, you're in for disappointment.
Agreed.
Okay, S is for strollers and scooters. They're everywhere. And they will run you down.
Sometimes I think they do it on purpose.
Yeah. In either case.
Yes. Those babies are out to get you.
Both items are available for rental upon arrival, though, so you don't have to try and take one on a plane or anything like that. You can rent both types outside of the parks, and those can also be reserved. So when we're talking about reservations, those are also good things to reserve ahead of time.
Yep, for sure.
All right. Okay, so tea. We have a couple of items for this one as well.
Okay.
The first one is travel insurance. I cannot stress enough how important travel insurance is to Disney or any other destination that you choose to travel to. It costs extra. Once it's purchased, it's non-refundable. But I will tell you from experience, having worked with clients in the past who have needed to utilize that service, it is worth its weight in gold.
Yes, I've seen lots of different people have to use that, and I've heard stories of people that wish they had. And my kind of philosophy on this is, even if you were going on an inexpensive Disney trip, like 4 days, you're looking at $3,000 or $4,000 for 3 or 4 days at Disney World. You might be able to do it for a little less than that. Let's say you found a super cheap way to do it, and you're there for 4 days for $1,500. Your travel insurance is still only $100 and some odd dollars usually, right in that ballpark. So so you're adding a premium, but you don't have the risk. It's risk mitigation, and if you can afford to spend $1,500, $2,000, $7,000, $10,000 on a trip, you can afford $100 to make sure you're protected. That's always been kind of my stance.
Mm-hmm. And then the second part of the T that we're going to talk about is use a travel professional.
Agreed.
For any of those of you that have been listening for any length of time, you know that it's been 10 years now. I know we haven't had the podcast for that long, but for the past 10 years, I have been helping people plan trips everywhere, not just to Disney vacations, although that's what got me started. And I have recently launched my own travel agency.
Yay!
So
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. Anything else to say about that?
No, I would just add that Candace has generously sponsored our podcast, especially this one today. And if you need somebody to help you add magic to your miles, reach out to Candace or her team and have them help you. They do good work. I've seen the magic that Candace works on trips. She's planned all of our trips, and they wouldn't have been half the trips that they were without her. And I know this sounds very advertising, but it's not meant to be. I just give her a chance. Give her a chance to quote. It doesn't cost you anything extra above the cost of your trip. It's all there. It's all there for the taking. Honestly, it reduces stress. Using a travel professional reduces stress. I just happen to be a podcast co-host with one of the best. So
I appreciate that.
Just give her a chance is all I'm saying.
All right. I'm feeling awkward about that, so we'll move on. This was kind of a tough one for me to come up with, but what I came up with was use your resources, meaning use your My Disney Experience app.
Okay.
And use your Genie
Okay.
service.
Yep.
Both are linked together. Genie is part of My Disney Experience, but it's free. Both things are free. You can download My Disney Experience. I have it on my phone all the time. And yes, from 1,000 miles away, I watch wait times on different attractions because I wish I was there. But with the Genie service, it's actually free. You can go in, you can add your wish list. See, Genie, wish. And then it will tell you when the best time to do different things on your wish list is. So that hopefully you can check all those things off your list.
Okay. Yep, I like it.
So I know in past episodes I've said don't be dependent on your screens, which I still 100% agree with, but you have to use those resources. Like, you can use them without being solely dependent on them and keeping your nose in your phone the entire day.
Yep. Agreed. And I have another
Okay.
that's just for beginners, something that you'll often hear people talk about.
Okay.
Utilidors.
Yes. Good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's just another Disney term that you'll hear people use to talk about Disney World, primarily Magic Kingdom. So if you don't know, what happened is that in Disneyland, Walt once saw a cowboy from Frontierland in Tomorrowland, and that just happened to be the walking pattern for that cast member to be able to get to the backstage area that they needed to get to. And Walt was mortified that people could see someone out of the immersion of the land that they were in.
Completely destroys the theme.
Yeah. So when they moved to Florida and he built Magic Kingdom again, they built it on the second story. So when you walk into Magic Kingdom in Orlando, you're actually walking above a set of utilidors, which is a way for cast members, trash, food, everything to move around the park without pulling guests out of their immersion of the land that they're in. Mm-hmm. So if you are a cowboy in Frontierland, you are only seen in Frontierland. If you are Buzz Lightyear, you are only seen in Tomorrowland. So that's what they're talking about when they say utilidors. And that way you just have a little idea of that inside Disney lingo, because I think not a lot of people, they might hear that and they're like, I don't know what that means. So
yeah, that's a good one. And I will tell you, I got to visit the utilidors when I was there for Disney Institute, and that is quite the system, I will say.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And spotless. I mean, you could have eaten off the floor. Not that I would have, but you could.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Good call. So V is the Very Merry Christmas Party.
Ooh, good one.
And that is one of the seasonal offerings starting after Halloween, of course. And you may hear the term Snope. Basically, they make it snow on Main Street, but how they do it is with soap flakes.
Love it.
Yeah, but it's an extra hard ticketed event, so it is going to cost you above the cost of your park admission. But they have treats, they have a special parade, special fireworks. Did I say snacks?
I don't know if you did or not.
Okay. Picture opportunities with Santa, Snope, all the good things. And it's very Christmassy.
Yeah, I love it. That's one of the... Eventually, I'm going to go to Disney World during the holidays, because I want to do Festival of the Holidays. I want to do Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. Mm-hmm. I just want to see it decorated for
It's so
Christmas.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I've seen pictures. I want to do it.
Yeah.
So I have another V for you.
Okay.
Minivans.
Oh, yes. Minivans actually were invented a few years ago. And we're not talking like Dodge Caravan minivans. No. We're talking about little multi-person vehicles.
Vans, SUVs.
Right. That are decorated like Minnie Mouse. And they are driven by specially selected Disney cast members. As you move through the resort property, the music playing inside the minivan changes based on the location of where you're at. Little extra sprinkle of magic. It's run through the lift service, and it's costly.
It's pricey.
It is. Probably, twice what you can get a regular Lyft or Uber for?
If not more. It's pricey.
It is, but totally worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah. If you're, and honestly, if you're a party of 4 or a party of 6, and you need to get somewhere, and you're contemplating an Uber or a Lyft or whatever, go with a minivan. Like this is one of those times where we mentioned earlier that at Disney money does matter. Like that's one of those things that I personally, I'm like, on my vacation, money doesn't matter. Let's get a minivan. Because, yeah, you're going to be spending money anyway. You're just saying, I'm going to spend a little bit more for a better and elevated experience. That's where I want to spend my money, is on elevated experiences, and minivans do that.
Here's another V for you along that same line. Value.
Yes.
And there's a difference between cost value and experience value. And you need to find what speaks to you most.
Yep. Yeah, only you can say if that dollar you spend was worth the dollar you spent.
Mm-hmm.
So at a place like Disney, it's easy to spend dollars.
Oh.
So you have to be careful to make sure you understand if that's going to be worth it. Like, let's use an example of the food and wine booths. There's some things on there that I look at and I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. That dish, that shrimp dish sounds interesting. But then I look at the price and it's $12.50 for 2 shrimps and a little bit of coleslaw.
Yeah.
And that to me probably wouldn't be worth the value. It wouldn't be valuable to me to get that. I'm going to go for something else that maybe is like sounds just as tasty, but maybe gives you something a little more substantial. Mm-hmm. So you have to make all of those decisions yourself. Like I say, my value is, instead of getting into a lift with somebody who's just driving their personal car that may or may not be nice to me, I'm getting into a minivan, spending double what that other lift would cost or more, maybe a little bit more, but I'm having a conversation about where that cast member is from, what their favorite park is, the things that I should be able to look out for. And it's not one of those creepy conversations with a Lyft driver, because that's what those folks are there for. That's what they want. They want to elevate your experience. And yeah, again, I keep finding soapbox moments in this episode.
You're doing great. All right, moving on to W. I have 2 for that as well.
Okay.
First one is water.
Drinking or Splash Mountain?
Well, drinking primarily.
Okay.
Please, 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 please remember to drink lots and lots of water. With that said, you don't need to buy bottled water. Every quick service location will have complimentary ice water in little cups. I would highly recommend filling a water bottle at your resort before you leave for the parks, and refilling using bottle filling stations or drinking fountains or whatever the case may be throughout the parks throughout the day. But you are going to be walking anywhere between 10 and 12,000 steps per day.
If not more.
It's hot. It's humid. There's lots of sun. It's Florida. You need to stay hydrated.
Yep.
And especially if you are imbibing in adult beverages, you really need to stay hydrated.
Yep. Glass of water after every adult beverage is kind of our philosophy for drinking in Disney.
Yep.
And not like a slam a glass of water. It's a drink, nice leisurely glass of water, another drink. You'll get your drinks in. That'll also end up saving you money.
Right.
Because the more you drink, the thirstier you're going to get, and drinks are not cheap.
No. No. And they're not the most refreshing and hydrating either.
Right.
Yeah. And then the second thing for W I have is weather. And the freaky weather patterns that can fire off in Florida. I mean, we're talking like daily thunderstorms, and it's not just a trickle or a sprinkle of rain. It's usually a pretty good downpour.
Yep.
Maybe for 15 minutes, but pack accordingly. Pack a poncho. You can take an umbrella in, whatever the case may be. But we've made this mistake before. Buy that stuff before you go and take it with you. Park it in,
Yes.
Pack it in your park bag so you don't have an $18 poncho that rips the second time you try and put it on versus the $5 poncho that you get from Amazon and that you can take with you for years.
Yeah. Same with the umbrellas. The umbrellas are like $23. Every one of those that we've brought has worked in the parks, but as soon as we brought it home, it breaks.
I think it's a magic thing.
It might be. This only works in Florida rains in Disney World.
That's right. Very specific types of umbrellas.
Yes.
So just be prepared. Fresh socks, waterproof shoes, all good things.
Yep.
Oh, and along with that, like in the colder months when colder weather is sort of expected, keep in mind that weather may feel different in Florida than it does in your home state. For example, 50 degrees in Florida feels a lot colder than 50 degrees where we live because of the humidity in the air.
Yes.
So jackets, jeans, sweatshirts, whatever the case may be, very appropriate in Florida, may not be such a big deal when you're at home.
Right.
But because of the humidity and the chill in the air, especially in the evenings, that's important things to keep in mind.
Yep. Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, for X, I had some trouble with this one, but I figured it out finally. Ex Atencio.
Ooh. I like it.
And X was one of the initial Imagineers. He helped develop things like Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion. He did part of the song. He was also a lyricist. And Walt said, you did such a great job on this ride for Pirates. Why don't you write the song too? So, yeah.
So if you're a fan of Pirates of the Caribbean movies, not just the ride, yo ho, a pirate's life for me.
That's X.
Written by X Atencio.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good X.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I got another X.
Oh.
It's kind of a stretch.
Hey, B was the biggest stretch we've had on this list so far, and it worked. So.
And it's a don't. Don't X your way across the park.
Oh, brilliant.
As you're planning your trip, so being prepared beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
One of the lessons that I learned early in my Disney career was don't go chasing wait times and X across the park all day long. Like, oh, there's a short wait time in Tomorrowland. Okay, we did that ride in Tomorrowland. Oh, there's a short wait in Adventureland. And so you go over there, and we were talking about the 10 to 12,000 steps per day. All of a sudden that becomes 25 to 30,000 steps a day, and you are just exhausted in that Florida heat.
And you've wasted a whole bunch of time.
Yeah. You've wasted time you could have spent in queues in the land that you were in, enjoying all that goes along with that, walking across the park to chase lightning lanes.
Mm-hmm.
So don't X your way across the park.
Good X. All right. The Y is you.
Ooh, me?
You.
What about me? Do I need to be worried?
No.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you? So the reason that I chose Y for you, or you for Y, whatever you want to say, is because when you are planning a trip, it's your trip. You can listen to 100 different people tell you 100 different things about how they plan their vacation. You can watch 100 different vlogs. You can read 100 different articles, all telling you different things. You have to be the one to decide what the best move is for you and your travel party. And that's why I say that it is so important to work with a travel professional, is because any travel professional worth their salt when working with Disney Vacations is going to get to know you and your travel party and custom design the trip for you.
Yep. Agreed.
And help you make those decisions so that it may not look exactly like your neighbor down the street and what they experienced in Disney, but it's going to mean more to you.
Yep. 100%.
And then finally, our Z, and this is probably a bit of a stretch, but make sure that you get some good Z's at night. Disney is exhausting, and you will need a vacation from your vacation when you come back. So just go into that knowing it. But don't get off of your sleep schedule too much, because that will mess you up and not have you have the best time ever.
Yep. Yeah, sleep is important.
Restorative sleep.
Yeah, restorative sleep helps your body recover. all of those kind of good things.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And you have to know yourself. Like, if you need a nap in the middle of the day, go back to your resort hotel, have a nap.
Yep.
Then go back to the parks.
Yep. I like it. Good list.
Thank you. That is our A to Z Disney Parks planning list.
Yeah.
Let us know what we got right, what we got wrong, what your opinion is. We'd love to interact with you on our socials. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Reddit. We look forward to seeing you there. Next week, we are coming in with the launch of spooky season.
I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, we've got some good stories. We've got some good experiences, and we can't wait to share those with you. So,
remember, there's always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
and we'll see you real soon.